Nice. If you decide to buy a camera and then you just set it to auto, then you might as well just use your phone. I want to show you how you can use the camera and understand it so that you can actually capture the moment that you saw, not just setting it to auto and letting the camera decide, because the camera doesn't know what you're feeling. The camera's just trying to get a balance of everything. If you're looking at the sky and the grass is in the way, well, the sky is what you want to see, but it's going to say, well, the grass is here, I need to make it a bit brighter, and now the grass is nice and bright, but the sky's gone all white. Just want to show you how to use the camera. So there's a few things to know. Let me take you through it. So the whole point is to take back control of the moment. So there's this thing known as the exposure triangle: shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. Aperture is how much light is entering the lens. How open do you want the lens to be? The more open it is, the more light will come in, and the more blurry your backgrounds will be, which is good for separating the background from the subject, and also is great for nighttime because a lot more light comes in. So you get this low light superpower on your camera. However, if you're in landscape, maybe you don't want to blur the background too much because you want people to see where you are. So in that case, you balance it up a bit. You don't always open it as much as possible. If you're shooting a family, multiple people, then yeah, don't open it all the way, because when you open it all the way, it's gonna narrow what's in focus. That's why you get the background blurring so much, because it's narrowing what's in focus. Whereas if you close it down, only straight rays of light come in. So you get everything a lot more in focus. So that's just how that physical concept works. If you wanna completely separate the background, like right behind me here, we've got some cars. We don't wanna see the cars so much. So I've opened it up all the way to f1.8, and because it's just me, as long as my face is in focus, nothing else matters. So here it makes sense. For families, or if you want to show the background, yeah, just close it up a bit to like f3.5 or even more. Next thing is ISO. It is the digital sensitivity of the camera. Aperture is a physical setting, but ISO is digital. It's a signal. If a photo is a bit dark, even though you've opened your lens all the way, ISO is one more step. It's like a last resort. What it does is it's cranking the signal up, making the image brighter. If you brighten the ISO too much, then you start getting noise. And it's not that beautiful like film grain noise that you're used to. It's more color noise. It's just noisy with like red, blue, green kind of dots everywhere. That's what happens if you put the ISO up too high. The lower your ISO is, the closer it is to the signal that the camera was made to be at. The more you crank that ISO up, the brighter your image will be. But also, if you do it too much, you're going to be able to tell. And sometimes it can ruin a shot. So if it's too high and it's just too noisy and it's just too messy, it can ruin a shot, right? You don't want to just use ISO by itself. You want to use it as like a last step, final step, because you want to keep your image as clean as possible. Some people don't obey this rule and they just take the ISO up. You need to understand what it does first, and then you can do what you want with it. So ISO, last resort, keep it as low as possible, but raise it if it's too dark, but don't raise it too much, because then it'll ruin it. That's ISO. What's next? Shutter speed. Okay, shutter speed. With shutter speed, it's literally how long is the camera being exposed to the light. Aperture is how much light is getting in. Shutter speed is how long is the camera taking the photo for. The longer it's taking the photo for, the more light rays are hitting the sensor. For you, it's basically the faster the shutter speed, the clearer things are, less motion blur, and also darker, because you've taken it like quicker. If you do a slow shutter speed, then you get more light in, so brighter image, but then you get more blur. If you're trying to show the sensation of a car speeding past, you can reduce the shutter speed to like 1/50. Take the shot as the car's going past, and then the car will look blurry and everything else will look pin sharp. Or you can follow the car as it's moving, like follow the movement of the car as you take the shot, and then the car will be sharp and in focus and everything else will be blurry. When you take a shot, the camera shutter opens, light comes in, and then it closes. If you want to shoot some action, then you would turn that shutter speed up so that it opens and closes really quickly. If you're shooting kids, for example, same kind of situation, they're laughing, they're jumping around, you want to capture them as they were in that moment. However, if you're doing nighttime photography, you're looking at the stars, you want to see the stars that your eyes can't see, then you would turn the shutter speed way down to like 20 seconds, and then the camera just has to stay still. The shutter's open for 20 seconds, it's soaking in all the light, and then you get your shot. With photos, it's how blurry a photo is, but for video, it's motion blur. So if you're shooting at 25p or 30p, like 4K 60, 4K 30, those kind of settings, the normal shutter speed that you would set would be double the frame rate. So if you're shooting 25, then you would shoot 1/50. If you're shooting 60, 1/120. The motion in my hand right now is what you're used to seeing if you saw it in person. This is called natural motion blur. This is how things move normally. If it's like an action sequence in a film, this is a lot more choppy motion. If you're like hitting someone, you want to see where the fists are going. However, as you can see, the image is darker now because less light is going in. If it's action, then you want to raise the shutter speed for video so that everything is a bit clearer in motion. And if it's like a dreamy, hazy situation, increase the shutter speed to something that looks like this. You get a lot more lighting, double the lighting, so 1/25 for a 25p video, which means, you see this? How blurry and dreamy it looks. It's cool, maybe it looks more fluid. It works more when it's like low light, so you get more light in. If it's dreamy sequence or hazy, flashbanged in Call of Duty or something, and you get that kind of, if you're disoriented, it's good for that. That's the usual use case. You can use it however you like, whatever you prefer. So that's shutter speed. So that's the exposure triangle. We have aperture, ISO, shutter speed, and you have to use those together to create your image. You don't have to know all of them at once. You don't have to go full manual. Instead of going full auto on your camera, now maybe try using the S mode, which is shutter priority. So you can set your shutter speed to whatever you want, and then it will set the aperture and ISO. Or you can go to T, which is aperture. You set how open you want the lens, and it will do your shutter speed and your ISO for you. And I hope this is in focus, because I'm not doing it again. So it's either full auto, aperture priority, shutter priority, and full manual. If you're in a dynamic environment, in a dynamic situation where things are going to keep changing, then set your shutter speed. Whatever photo you take, you know that the camera will take care of the brightness for you. Or if you want your lens to be super wide open, set it to aperture priority, and then everything will be wide open. There is one more thing. These are ND filters. If you want to get a beautiful blurry background and it's super bright outside, like it's daylight, you've got a filter that can artificially darken your image. So you can dial your settings in and then just turn this around, and that will be like an absolute like darkness filter, and then there you go. And now you've got a beautiful image that looks cinematic because you've got a blurry background with the right amount of motion blur on a bright day, just like they do in the films, and then your camera just looks like brilliant. Filter is like the secret extra ingredient that I have for doing video. For photography, it's not important because it's just any shutter speed will be fine because it's just one photo is done. Because if you need to reduce the light, you just crank the shutter speed to crazy levels, and that doesn't matter for photos because it's just one shot. But for video, that would look really choppy. Vloggers in the early days, they would have this choppy video because they didn't have these filters back then. It wasn't so common. Try not to use these cameras in full auto because you're not really appreciating the gear you've got. It's like buying an iPhone to just only do phone calls and messages. It's like, there is a dimension you have not unlocked yet. Questions, let me know. I needed to get something out. I've got people in my life who just take the camera and they're like, what do I do? I'm like, just press the photo button. I've said it, don't worry. So I want them to, feel like they've got more control. All right. Hope this helps. Thanks, bye. It's almost 11 here. This is 11 o'clock.